Hello, my name is Mrs. Epps. I will be presenting a lesson to you today on the first chapter in a book entitled, Why Are We Different? And here is our chapter book right here. Now I'm going to take you to the table of contents of this book. Okay. And you see, here's our first chapter, because this is this chapter that we're going to be reading today, Living Things and Cells. Now, you do have access to this entire book, okay? Well, you have access, I'm sorry, to the first chapter. It is under the lesson materials, and all you have to do is let your parents know that the chapter book is there, or the first chapter is there. Okay? So let's look at the cover of the book, the chapter cover here of the book. Okay? And here's your title again, Living Things and Cells. Now, if you look at this picture, what do you think this chapter is going to be about? Think about that, okay, for a second. So we're going to complete an activity, okay, before we start reading. And it says here, what is the title of this chapter? What is the title of this chapter? Okay. Before we write our title in, let's go over some vocabulary words that we're going to see in our story, okay? So before we fill in that one, let's go here. I'm going to say some words that you're going to see in the chapter, and I want you to repeat the words after me. Alike. Repeat that word. Animal. Repeat that word. Cell. Repeat that word. Different. Repeat that word. DNA. Repeat that, please. And I want you to pay attention to the pictures, because the pictures are associated with the words that you see, okay? And it helps you to understand what the word is all about, and it can help you understand the story as well. Move this up a little bit. Plant. Repeat that word. All right. Now, where do we get our DNA from? Where do we get our DNA from? Our parents or our teachers? Did you say our parents? Yes, we get our DNA from our parents, okay? So now let's go back to that activity that we started, okay? And it asked us, what is the title of this chapter? Okay? So what is the title of this chapter? Did you say Living Things and Cells? That's right. So I'm going to type that in right here. All right. And here's our title right here, okay? Living Things and Cells. All right. Let's go to our next question. It says, what do you think this chapter will be about? So let's look back at that picture again. What do you think this chapter is going to be about? I see a person here. I see animals and a tree here. I don't know what these are. What do you think they are? So let's put people, The chapter is going to be about people, animals, and trees. Okay? All right. It says this is a chapter book. What kind of chapter book is this? Is it a fiction book or a nonfiction book? Now, what is a fiction book? Did you say it's a made-up story? Yes, it's a made-up story. What is a nonfiction book? Did you say it's a book about facts or about a person or an event that actually happened? That's what nonfiction means. If you see here, this is a picture of Abraham Lincoln, and we know that Abraham Lincoln was one of our presidents. So now we have to determine what kind of chapter book is this, fiction or nonfiction. So let's go back over here. Living Things and Cells. Let's go through here. We see that there are actual people here. And they're talking about the human body. These things are actually in our human body. So this must be a nonfiction, a book about nonfiction or a chapter about nonfiction, right? And we were right, okay? What is the chapter topic? Is it a biography, social studies, or science? So we saw the human body there. We saw different things that were pointing to the human body. So, and remember on the chapter, the book cover, we saw the picture of the animals, and we saw a picture of a tree. So all those things are related to what? Biography, social studies, or science. Did you say science? You were right. All right. So it says, compare this book to a chapter book that has been recently read. So if you participated in a lesson with me about a student or a young man named Mark, you know that particular chapter book was all about Mark and what he wanted. And we know that he wanted a video game system. If you have not read that chapter book, go back and read that chapter book. It's a really good book, okay? So that particular chapter was all about a person, okay? And we know that a biography would tell you all about a person. But this story was talking about what? This particular chapter is talking about what? Science, okay? So I can say here, the book I previously read was about a person, okay? All right. Our next question is, what kind of book would you choose? So now you have to tell me what kind of books you would like. Let's put that back in there. Would you choose a picture book, chapter book, comic book, or a book with facts? I like chapter books, but you can pick any book that you like, okay? All right. So now let's go back to our chapter. And let's just look at the picture. So here we have a young man who is thinking about, once again, a person, an animal, and trees, okay? We need to figure out what these are, right? And here's a young man, and here's this special picture here. We have to find out what that is. And there's a picture I just brought up of the human body. It's a lot going on there, isn't it? Now here's a picture of a plant, and there's a hamster there. It looks like a hamster. And once again, here we have that human body again. We have an animal here and a tree, and these special things right here. We need to figure out what they are. So as I read today, I want you to remember what people, animals, and plants all have. Okay, I want you to remember about what people, animals, and plants all have. I want you to be able to tell me that at the end of our story, okay? So then let's read on, okay? All right, Todd is in Mr. Kinder's science class. Todd walks into class and sees that the front board has changed. What are we going to learn about this month? Asked Todd. This month we'll learn about living things, says Mr. Kinder. Mr. Kinder tells the class that they will learn about how people, animals, and plants are alike. So let's answer the question that is at the bottom of this page. What would Todd learn about in science class this month? Did you say they're going to learn about how people, animals, and plants are alike? You were exactly right, because here's an answer right here, okay? Let's move on to our next page. All right. I don't have one thing that a plant or animal has, says Todd. You're right, says Mr. Kinder. You don't have one thing that plants and animals have. You have many things that plants and animals have. People, animals, and plants all have cells. Every living thing is made up of cells. People, animals, and plants are all made up of cells. A cell is too small to see without special tools. There are too many cells in each person, animal, and plant to count. Now, isn't that amazing? So we know that this thing here is a what? A cell. If you said that, you were correct. Let's go back and read our question here at the bottom. Discuss the size of cells and how you might see them. So what are the size of the cells? Did you say they were too small to see without a special tool? Yes, they're too small to see. All right. So there are many different types of cells. Each type of cell has a different job to do. All cells are important. People have skin cells and muscle cells. They also have nerve cells. All of the cells work together in your body. Mr. Kinder asked the class to look around. Think about the cells in our classroom, says Mr. Kinder. Todd looks around. He sees living things like himself, the class hamster, and the class plant that are all made up of cells. There are a lot of cells in here, says Todd. You're right, says Mr. Kinder. You can't see the cells, but they are here, and they are hard at work. So what things in the classroom are made up of cells? Did you say Todd was, the class hamster, and the plants are made up of cells? There they are. Mr. Kinder is also made up of cells. Okay? All right. So it says here, let's review what we have learned about cells, says Mr. Kinder. Every living thing is made up of cells. Cells are too small to see without tools. People, animals, and plants have many different types of cells. Each type of cell has a different job to do. What did you learn about cells? Can you tell me at least one thing? Did you say every living thing is made up of cells? If you did, you were right. You may have said they were too small to see. You might have even said people, animals, and plants all have different types of cells, and all cells have a different job, right? All right, you did a good job listening. So now we're going to answer some questions. We're going to do some activities, okay? Where we're going to answer some questions. So here is our first sentence, and we're going to have to fill in the blank with the correct word. So it says here, Mr. Kendall will teach the class about blank things. People, small, job, cells, or living. Let's go to our story, okay? So what is he going to teach the class about? Did you say living things? Yes. All right. Blank, plants, and animals all have cells. So now we have to determine what word is going to go on this blank, and we have to make sure that the word makes sense, okay? So is it going to be people, small, jobs, cells, or living? What word is going to go on the blank? Has to make sense. So let's take a look. What does it say here? People, right? Animals and plants all have cells, right? So let's go to our question. And we have people is a choice. People, plants, and animals all have cells. And it says here, cells are too blank to see. Let's see what are our answer choices. Small, jobs, cells, or living. What's our answer? You can point to the screen if you like. So let's go to our story to get our answer. It says right here that cells are too small to see, right? Small. They are too small to see. All right. Cells have different what? What word is going to go in the blank? Cells have different what? Is it going to be people, small, jobs, cells, or living? All right, let's go to our story. And what does it say? Cells have different what? Jobs. Living things are made up of what? Let's see. People, small, cells, or living. Which word is going to go in the blank? So let's see. Let's use our story to help us figure out the answer. Okay. So you see here, living things, every living thing is made up of cells. All right, let's go back here. So living things are made up of what? Cells. All right, you did a very good job filling in those sentences with the correct word, okay? All right, let's move on to our next activity. Okay, so this is a multiple choice activity. So number 1 says, what is this chapter about? Living things, states, or trees? Let's go over here and look. We always use our story, right, to answer our question. So now what was this story about? We talked about how people, animals, and plants all have what? Cells, right? And then we also talked about how every living thing is made up of cells. So let's see what our choices were again. What is this chapter about? Living things, states, or trees? Now, is the whole chapter about states? Did we read anything about states? Nope. So we can X that one out. We can just put an imaginary X over there. Is the entire chapter about trees? Nope. We can X that one out. So what was it about? It mentioned living things, right? Exactly. Okay, what has cells along with plants and animals? What has cells along with plants and animals? Let's use our story to come up with the answer. Let's go back to our question here. So what has cells along with plants and animals? All right. Did you say people? Yes. People have cells along with plants and animals. All right. Okay. Our next question says, what are cells? A, small, B, red, or C, large? So now, let's go back to this page, okay? Oops. A cell is too what? Small, right? See that word, small? Cells are small. A cell is too small, right? So what are cells? Were they red? It didn't mention they were red. It didn't mention they were large, so they must have been what? As the story stated, small. Okay, what do cells have? What do cells have? Different jobs, different colors, or different money? What do cells have? Let's go to our story. So if we read here, here's our answer. Each cell has a different what? Job, okay? All right, what is important to know about this chapter? What is important to know about this chapter? A, Todd is in class. B, living things are made of cells. Or C, Mr. Kinder likes science. So what is important to know? Make a choice. All right, let's use our story. Did you say every living thing is made of cells? Very good. Very good. All right, you did a very good job answering those questions. So let's move on. We have one more activity to do. And I'll make this a little bit bigger for you. All right, it says these questions may have more than one correct answer, okay? And it says here, what are cells? A, important, B, lazy, or C, caring? Make a choice. So let's find out what are cells. Did you say all cells are important? You were right. It says here, what types of cells do people have? A, skin, B, muscle, or C, nerve? Let's look at our story. And here we are. People have skin cells, muscle cells, and they also have nerve cells. Okay? So that particular question, all of the answers were correct. Skin, muscle, and what? Nerve. All right. Number 8 says, what do all cells do in your body? What do all cells do in your body? A, do nothing. B, work together. Or C, work alone. Make a choice. And let's use our story to come up with the correct answer. And here is our answer. All cells do what? Work together in your body. There it is right there. Okay. It says here, what does Todd see that has cells? What does Todd see that has cells? Okay. A, himself. B, class hamster. Or C, class plant. Let's use our story. To come up with that answer, right? So we go back in our story, we're going to look for, and here we go. We see here that Mr. Kinder was talked about on this page, and Todd looked around and he saw himself, right? The class hamster and the plant were all made up of what? Cells, right? And he saw himself, okay? So let's go back over here. And we see all of these answer this question. Himself, the class hamster, and the class plant. If you picked all of those, you were correct, okay? Okay, what did the class learn about cells? What did the class learn about cells? A, every living thing is made up of cells. B, people, animals, and plants have many different types of cells. Or each cell, each type of cell has a different job to do. Well, let's go back over here to our story. And if you see here, it says here, every living thing is made up of cells, right? Cells are too small to see without tools. people, animals, and plants have many different types of cells, and each cell has a different job to do, right? So let's go back over here, and we can select all of that. If you said that, you will correct. Okay. I hope you have learned a lot today about living things and cells. And I want you to continue to read daily. Go back and reread the story. And I want you to stay happy and stay safe and stay healthy. And I'll see you again in the next video lesson.